Hi everybody, and welcome back to Sew Along with Jan and the Kimberbell Mini Quilts for April, and this is part 3. So in this video we're going to be doing the windowed reverse applique blocks. Now I wanted to tell you that after the last video I did notice that I had made a mistake about the quilting design. It doesn't really matter, so no one's going to know. But I noticed that in the previous blocks that we did in the last video, that you were supposed to do Easter 4 in the first bunny, the loops in the chick, and in the bunny 3, Easter 4 again. So mine all have Easter 4, which is absolutely fine because who's going to ever know that the quilting was different than what they called for here. So they must have alternated them, and I did not notice that. I'm so sorry. So they are also noticing that, or alternating them in the windowed reverse applique. I am not going to reverse them. I'm going to use the loops on all 3 of them, so that my top row, this is the top, or the bottom row, this is the bottom row, and these will all be the same, and then my top row will all be the same. So that's what I'm going to do, since I did not notice that. But it was over on the 3rd page of that extra piece of, the reverse applique with block by block quilting. It was in that extra piece of instructions, and it was over here on the right, and I just didn't quite notice it. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the loops for the second set of blocks. So whatever you do is absolutely fine. If you don't have these designs, use something else. Whatever you want, it will work just fine. Who's ever going to know? So anyway, my bottom row is all going to be the Easter 4. So mine are all Easter 4. And we'll use the loops for the other ones. Okay, so I wanted to tell you that first because I noticed that after I finished the video, I'm like, oh, I forgot. Okay, so I've already done the bunny, okay? So what makes these different is that we're going to be sewing the little window part, this part first, and then we're going to put it into the egg. So let's look at our instructions, and we're going to be back to the reverse applique with block by block quilting. So now these are the ones that we just did, the ones at the top here, and we're going to do these next. So it says the top row of the quilt is completed using 2 hoopings. So we're going to do this in 2 hoopings. The first hooping is part A, the second hooping is part B, and it uses the same reverse applique technique used in the bottom row, and these were all done in one step instead, in one hooping, I should say. Their specially digitized files are included to remove the batting from inside the reverse applique egg in part B. So we're going to use the April mini quilt instructions to complete the part A and set aside. It will be added in the hoop. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Okay, we're going to use the instructions that are provided here. So what I did with my bunny is I went to the part A, and I did what it told me to do in this first section to do the little bunny rabbit part. Okay, so we're going to do that, and I am going to use, when we get to the second part to do the applique part, or the egg part, I'm going to be using the same design, which is the loops. And that's what I was reading when I did the applique, as I was reading these instructions and I wasn't looking closely enough to the instructions on page 3. So if you caught that and I had done it wrong, you can go ahead and make yours alternate between Easter and loops. So like my chick should have been the loops instead of the Easter, but mine are going to be Easter for these 3 and loops for these 3. Okay, so that it's consistent, and that it should look just fine, and no one is ever going to know that because it's just the quilting in the background, and it will look beautiful either way. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, and since I already did my bunny, okay, so the bunny's going to be done the way that we're going to do the next 2 blocks. So I'm going to set my bunny aside here for a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and work on the chick number 1. So I'm going to turn my page here to, let's see here, where did it go? Chick 1 is on page 18 of the instructions. So we're going to do part A of that, and the hooping instructions are going to be on the water, or on the no-show mesh stabilizer. And we're going to be using then that little inside piece of fabric. So let me get my Chick 1 fabric ready here. So here's my Chick 1 fabric. And the chick is going to be done with the yellow. And then this is the piece that we're going to be using for our background. So that's the piece that's going to be behind the little egg. And of course that one has shape flex on it. And the other one that has shape flex is going to be this background piece, just like the other ones, the one that's 6.5 by 6.5. And we'll be using those two pieces in a little bit. So I'm just going to set those aside. So I got a pin here I got to get rid of. Okay, there we go. So we're going to be using these two pieces first. So we'll need our applique fabric. All right, let's see what it says here. So we're going to do part A. So part A is going to be part of the regular instructions. It says part A. So we're going to go in and get our part A Chick 1 design. So this is actually going to be in the regular folder, as I remember. So let me get my design up here, Mini Quilts, embroidery files. So we're just going to be doing the insides. Let's go get April. And we're going to be doing this in the, let's see, Chick. Here we go. So here's Chick, and this is the part A. So we're just going to use the regular design that's in, it's not in this folder that says block by block. We'll use those in a little bit for the egg part. So we're going to go get our little Chick. And actually, I'm not sure. You know, they kind of did this kind of strangely. So I think these are the, yeah, this is the Chick one with when you do that. And then, yeah, so here's the other two. So we'll be using some out of this folder for the second half of this design. Okay, so we're going to go get our little Chick. We got our little Chick up here. And it's this one right here. Whoops. A second here. I made it mad. Let's try this again. So we'll go get embroidery files, and then we're doing the A of April, and then we're going to go get our little Chick. So there's Chick 1. I'm looking at my book, so that's the one I want, and I'm going to hit set. Okay, and embroidery. So we're just going to embroider this one out, and this is just going to be our inside piece. So this will be a real easy one. And it says to load part A, and then we're going to stitch the egg. Let's see, stitch the egg placement line. Why does it say the egg? Oh, yeah, because that's what they call this background piece. I forgot. They call this background piece the egg. So that's what it's referring to. So let's see. I think I'm just going to put in the darker pink color, or it doesn't matter what color this is. So it's just going to be a tack down line. So let's see here. I think I'm going to put in, I think I'll just put in the yellow, because the first thing I'm going to be doing is putting the Chick, the yellow Chick stuff on. So I think I'll just use my yellow, because that's just going to be, what it's going to do is it's going to tack this down and give us a, you know, just tack it down to our stabilizers. So, all right. So I think I'll just put my, whoops, yellow in. I just threw it all the way across the back of the sewing machine here. Excuse me. Way back here. There we go. I do that occasionally. Sometimes that thread will just go flying across the back of the sewing machine. Okay. All right, I'll put this in. So this is going to be on page 18, and it's step number 1. So this is just a placement line. Got my bobbin thread in the bobbin. I've got my yellow in the top, and I've got my regular not water soluble, no-show mesh stabilizer. Okay. So we're just following the regular directions for this section. All right, and then you're going to lay they call this the egg fabric. So this is that little background fabric. So we're going to lay this over the placement line. Kind of try to center it as best I can. And then step number 2 is going to be the tack down line. So it's just going to tack it down to our stabilizer. That one does have shape flex on it. And then this little Chick is also going to have some flexi foam in it. So give me a minute. I gotta find my flexi foam. Here we go. Okay. And step number 3 is going to be stitch the chick base placement line, which is for the flexi foam. So I'll leave the yellow in here. We're going to put the little flexi foam in first. So we're just basically doing the background part, and we're going to add this to the egg later. All right, so I'm going to put my flexi foam down over my chick, and then I am going to stitch the chick base tack down line. And you can tape this if you want. I'm just going to hold it. And then we're going to trim this. Okay, so now we're going to trim our flexi foam. It's going to be so cute. So we have, I think is there 2? Yeah, we're going to do 2 chicks in this video. So we're going to trim this. Helps to pull up a little bit to get through all the layers, because there's 2 pieces of tricot, one on each side, and then the foam in the center. So you just kind of pull up on it. It helps get through that. There we go. Oops, I missed one. Go. Get a little bit down here by the tail. There we go. All right. So there's our flexi foam. And then it says to stitch the chick placement line. So we're going to go ahead and do the placement line next. I'm just going to leave my yellow in. We're getting ready for our fabric. We'll stitch so we know where the fabric goes, which we probably already did, but I always just do all the parts because then I don't get mixed up where I'm at. And then we're going to lay this right side up over the top of the flexi foam. And this one is kind of directional. As you can see, my fabric's kind of directional. I think I'm going to put it this way. So you can choose which way. If you, I don't know what, I just happen to have kind of directional fabric. So now remember this one, we had a little trouble with the last chick. So you may have to kind of watch it so that it doesn't catch on you. So I'm going to kind of hang on to the edges here. There we go. That looks pretty good. So it's going to sew that out in our tack down stitch. Trim the fabric close to the stitch line. So now we're going to trim this fabric. Okay. Trim this close to the stitches, and then it's going to start working on the little legs. I think is the next step. Looks like the legs. Oops. There we go. So we got that trimmed, and then we're going to do the legs. Now the legs, let's see, I'll have to look and see what color. I'm having a little trouble with my, I think it's the light pink. Let me see here. Some of the symbols are very close, so I have to look again for my colors. Oops, can't get the page to turn. Here we go. Yeah, I think it's the light pink for the, yeah, light pink for the beak and legs and the wing. So my light pink is my 124 flush pink. So we're going to put that in and do the legs and the beak. Oops, sorry about that. Caught it on my watch. Pull that down a little bit so you can see. So we'll do this, and then I will be back in a moment when we do the next step, which is going to be, I believe, the the satin stitch for the little chick. Okay. All right. So this is going to be the beak and the legs. Okay, so I've got my yellow in here, and I'm going to go ahead and do the satin stitch around my little chick here. And, and then we'll go back to the wing and his little eye. Okay, so now we're going to go back and do the wing. I think it's the wing. Yeah, so that's going to go back to the pink. So that's the next step, is the wing here. And then the last step for this section is going to be his little eyeball, and that'll be black. So I'll come back after I do the wing, and I'll put the black in and do the eye. And then I believe we're going to be ready to take this one out and then get ready to do the window part. Okay, so I'm just finishing up the last step of this little design that did the little eye for my chick. So here's my little chick design. Oops, let's see here. I think I've got a little thread sticking up. Okay, and there's his little eye. So there's the center section of our little egg. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this out of the hoop now and set this one aside, and then I'm going to set up to do the second section, or the B section, which will do the window over the top of this. So I'm just going to cut this out up to the fabric, and then we will set this aside for a moment and get ready to do the quilting and the little egg design. So give me a moment to reset here, and I will be back to do the next section. Okay, so now we're ready for the quilted part and the little egg part. Oops, let me get this a little higher so you can see it. Of this section. So we're going to do part B. So what we need to do is look at the file. I'm going to kind of look over here quickly. And we're doing the little chick one here, and we want to do the BB chick one part B. So we're going to, and again, we're just using a 5x7 hoop for these. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of our little chick here. And we want to bring in our quilting. Now, technically, this one was supposed to be done with the Easter 4, but I made a mistake on the top row. So I'm just going to do all my bottom ones with loops. So I'm going to do the loops. So we're going to go ahead and bring that in first. And go to, loops 3. Loops 3, where is it here? Spring, loops. Oh, here it is, loops 3. So bring that in, and it's the 4x4 design. And I think they said horizontal. That's the one they've been using. Yeah, this one. Okay, so we're going to set that one. And then I'm going to add the part B, which is going to have the flowers on it. So we're going to go back to the little stick here, and we're going to go into the embroidery files and April, but we're going to go this time to the block by block files, and we need to go get the B, the 5x7, the one that's BBB chick 1, and this is the one we need this time, because if you look at the picture of our little chick, I'll bring this up so you can see it. See, it has some little flowers on it. So we're going to use this one this time for the B section, and click set. So that was in that special folder that we used before. Okay. But again, I am using the loops since I made the mistake on the top, on the other row, that I used the Easter, but it doesn't matter. If you don't have these, you could be using other designs as well. So I'm just going to use this for all 3 of mine, and I'm going to click embroidery. Okay, so remember that the quilting is first. Well, that isn't exactly the way we're going to do this. So can't remember if it says on this paper, make sure we get the right one here. All right. So we're actually going to start out the same way on, this is on those extra pieces of paper on page 2. We're going to start out with step number 6. because we don't need to quilt yet. We need to do a couple things first, just like we did before. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my negative positive needle, and I'm going to go down to step number 6. Just past the quilting so that we can do the part where the little egg is. Okay, so that's the only thing that's different about this one is we're going to do it just a little differently. All right, so we're going to click OK, and then I put in my light pink because my chick fabric is this real light pale pink. So this is the background fabric, this is the lining, and I'm going to go press this real quick and put a little starch on it just like we have before. Okay, and then this is going to be the background. So this is going to be the in through the little window, our little chick that we've already done. Okay, so give me a second, I'm going to go get this starched. Okay, so I've starched my lining fabric, and we're going to be going in here and using the instructions on page 2, and we're going to start out the same way. This is the same way we did the other one. So we're going to do the placement line, which is step number 6 because we have the quilting ahead of it, which is going to be our placement line for our batting. So we need to get the batting in here so we can trim that out. So I've got my chunk of batting down here. I get my book out of the way. Okay, so here's our placement line for our batting, and I'm going to lay the batting in. Okay. Like that. I'm going to lay my chunk of batting in, and then step number 7 on the machine is going to be the tack down line for the batting, and then it's going to put the little egg shape in the center, just like it did before. It's going to go around it a couple of times, and then it'll do the little egg shape in the center, and then we'll trim this. So the little bunny that I did first did not have any flowers on the outside. See, it just had the bunny, so there was no flowers on this one. But there is going to be some flowers on the outside edges of this one. I have a tendency to look at the pictures in the book and stuff, and I really know where they're heading. It's just I missed a couple of instructions, so I apologize, but it's not going to make any difference. They're all going to turn out perfect. They'll just have some slight variations. Okay, so then it says to trim the batting. So we're going to trim the batting just like we did before. And we're going to trim the egg out of the center as well. So get this trimmed. Get my batting out of here. Whoops, there we go. I could take this out and we can trim around this, and then we'll trim inside the egg also. Okay, get my egg trimmed out. Around here, whoops, I got all these little tails over here. There we go. Try to stay pretty close to the stitches so that you have the batting all out of there. Okay. And then it says step number 8 in the machine is going to be the background placement line. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in. I'm going to leave my pink. This looks like I unthreaded my machine. I'm going to leave my pink in here, and this is going to do my placement line. Get a hold of my thread there. This will be the placement line for the background fabric, which is the one that one also had shaped blocks on it. That's a 6.5 by 6.5 piece. Put this in there next. next. And then step number 9 is going to be the tack down line for this. So put this in here and kind of try to center it. Okay. Then we're going to do step number 9 in the machine and let it tack this all down. And then I think the next step, we're not going to trim the fabric, then we're going to go ahead and do the quilting. We're going to back up and do the quilting. And it's, okay. So now we need to back up since we've gotten that tacked down. We need to quilt this now before we go on to the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my negative positive needle down there again. And we're going to back up to number 5, which is always the quilting. So we're going to quilt it next. Okay, so hit OK. All right, we're going to hit that one. And then we're going to do the quilting. And then we're going to start the reverse applique procedure. Okay, so we've got all the quilting done. And after that step, it says to go back to step number 10 of the combine files on the machine. And then we're going to be doing part B of Chick 1. So we're going to go back to page 19 and make sure I got the number correct. Yes, page 19. And then we're going to be doing part B. So here's the part B instructions starting down here. So I have to go back to step number 10 on my machine. So I'm just going to hit this and I'm going to go down to step number 10. And that's where part B starts, is with, we're going to start doing the placement line for the little egg, and then we're going to cut through it just like we did before. Okay, so we're just going to continue on. I think we need to have some water soluble as well, topping. I think we're going to put some topping down here in a few minutes. So yes, over the little chick, we'll put some water soluble topping. So the next step then is going to be the placement line for the piece that we starched, our little lining piece. So I've got that starched. I'm sleeving my yellow or my pink thread. So there's our placement line. And this is step number, it was step number 1 in the instructions on page 19. And step number 2, we're going to lay our lining piece then right side down on top, kind of center it over our egg here. So this is our lining piece. And then we're going to do the next step, which will tack this down. Does this all look familiar? It's basically the same as the other set, but we had to do these in 2 sections because the background piece is actually, this is the window for this other background piece. All right, let's see here. And then we're going to trim through just like we did before. Okay, so we're going to trim through just like we did before. And I'm going to do this in 2 sections again. So we're going to trim about 1/4 of an inch or a little less away on the inside of our egg here. So I'm just going to trim around. These are turning out so cute. Even though I made a boo-boo, you know, they have to be original somewhere, right? So I just didn't catch that they changed the quilting, but it's okay. It will look absolutely beautiful. Okay, so we got that, and then we're going to do the bottom part too. So I have to get through the stabilizer and the fabric. There we go. We're going to trim around that. Not very much of the quilting actually shows because, you know, you're cutting out so much of it here in the center. All right, so there's our egg. Okay, so we got that. And then we're going to take our straight scissors, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to trim up about 1/8 of an inch apart and trim up to the stitching line. Just be careful not to cut through it. Get my camera down just a little bit. I'm sorry, it's tipped a little bit. Oh, here we go. Sorry, my camera tipped up just a little bit when I hit it with my watch. There we go. So we'll just trim up to the line about 1/8 of an inch apart. Make it lie nice and flat. And it's amazing how flat it lays. I was like, oh golly, is this actually going to lay flat? But it does lay quite flat. Once you get it pressed and taped down, they look great. Okay. Trimming all the way around here. Probably can't see too much. I got this camera under my arm, so it's hard for me to keep my hand out of the way. Okay, so we got that. And then we're going to slide the fabric through the hole, just like we did before. Okay. And I'm going to kind of slide this through and kind of finger press it, and then we'll do our pressing just like we've done before. Like this. Slide it through there. Way around. Looks good. Try not to disturb your stabilizer as you're doing this. All right. So there we go. All right, so then what we're going to do, and I'm going to do this off camera, but here's my little ironing mat again. I'm going to fold it in half, and I'll turn this over like this, and I'm going to take this over to my ironing board. And again, I'm just going to press this down nicely so that it's nice and flat on the back, and then I'm going to tape it down on the corner. So I'll come back over and do the taping, and then I'll show you how to put the background piece on. Okay, so I got this all pressed, so let's go ahead and get this taped down. And tape the corners up here. Might have to put another extra little piece in. We'll see how it goes here. It lays nice and flat, just like we did before. So this part's all the same. I might need another little piece. Let's see here. Maybe a piece on the top. And the bottom. These are just a little bit wrinkly, but they're not too bad. There's one up here too. Okay, so then the next step is going to be the little chick. And the thing that seemed to work well for me is we want this, to be peeking out from behind our egg. So I wanted to, it was a little easier for me to do it this way, was to put some tape on the sides of this, on the back. So put the sticky side, sticking up like this. So I'm just going to put some tape on. So then I can look at it from the top to get it where I want it in my little frame. I'm just going to lay some tape on each side. Piece on each side here, like that. Okay, and then we can lay the hoop down. I'm just looking to see where they want us to put our water side. Okay, we don't put the water cycle on for a little bit yet. Okay, so then we're going to put this in where we want it, and I'm kind of looking at the picture here so I can kind of see how they did it. But it was easier for me to lay it down on top of it, and then you can kind of get it where you want it. Let's see. Does he look good kind of like in there? You see his little legs. Looks like maybe the tail is just slightly covered in the picture. How does that look? I think that looks pretty good. Let's pick it up. Whoops. I've got that sticky tape. I can't wait to get rid of this roll of tape. For some reason, it's like sticky on the edges. It's real weird. All right, let's get that kind of lined up where we want it. Let's see if I can get the tape to stick on the back. There. Okay, so let's see how that looks. Still got this one end that does not want to let go. I'm going to make sure I get his beak in there. Okay. See if I can get down under here and get this up. There we go. Okay. Then I can turn it over and stick it down a little bit better. And we can turn it over and look at it again. We like it. So let's see how that looks. I was going to go look at the bigger picture here. I think he looks pretty good. What do you think? That look okay? I think it could come over. It looks like they might have put his little beak over a little further and then this in a little bit. So let's move it over just a little bit. Let's see here. Boy, I'm going to be real glad when this roll of tape is done because this tape is just really weird. All right, let's do that again. I think I want the beak over to the right just a little further. All right, get him laid in here. So let's see. I want to make sure we don't see any of that decorative line. I think they had his little tail over here a little further. That looks pretty good. Let's go this way a little bit. There we go. I think that looks more like it. So just get it so you like it in there. I'm going to reach underneath and see if I can pick it up. There we go. Flip it over again. Make sure everything's stuck down. And I think that looks pretty good. Let's see what we like, if we like it. I think that'll look real nice. So then the next step is going to be, oops, I unthreaded my machine again. Get this out of the way. Oh, that sticky tape, heavenly days. It's it's so sticky, and every time I press down on it, everything sticks to the machine. Okay. So now we're going to put this back in here, and it says to, oops, I got to flip my page to 19. So we're going to stitch the egg tack down line. Now this is where I didn't see that they changed to white. So I've been doing all of mine with my matching thread that matches my design. So I'm just going to use my pink on this. And if you want to use the white, go ahead and use the white. I just didn't notice it, and I thought this way they'd be all the same. So, okay, so we're going to use the pink, and we're just going to tack, and it's just going to tack around the outside edge just like it did before, maybe. Hopefully it doesn't stick to the machine. That's kind of a little triple stitch around there. So we're doing okay. It's really cool how they do that. And then I think the next step is we're going to put some water soluble on. So I'm going to put the water soluble over the center section. Okay. And I'm going to look and see what's the next section. It's just the flowers. And you know, I don't know that I am going to use the water soluble because it's just the flowers that it's going to do. And I'm so afraid that my foot's going to get caught under my water soluble. So I don't think I'm going to use it. I think this is fine. You know, everything's sewed fine. And then the flowers are going to be up on this part. So we really don't need the water soluble. I'm not going to put it on. So the flower colors are on page 19, not page, I'm sorry, 20. And the first one is going to be the yellow. So we're going to have a yellow flower. So I'll do my flowers yellow, the kind of melon color, and a light blue. And then it's a white center. So I'm just going to sew all my flowers out. That's the last section of this design. I'm just going to sew the flowers out, and then I'll come back once the flowers are all sewn in. And I did not put the water soluble on. I think it'll be absolutely fine because the flowers are all away from the edge of this. So I don't think there should be any problem because it's far enough away here, and then these two are kind of up here. So it's going to be absolutely fine without the water soluble. All right, so I'll be back once I get my little flowers done. Oops, second here. Did it unthread again? It may have done that. So I will be back in a moment once I get all of these done. Okay, so I got my little flowers on here. So the first one was yellow. The second one was that melon color. The third one was blue. And then they have white centers in each one. So there's that block. It's all done. So here's our little chick block. And I'm going to take all this tape off the back, and we'll take this out of the hoop and set it aside and get ready for the last of these small applique blocks, and that one is going to be chick 2, and it's this the little orange yellow chick in the center here, and he's going to have a blue background behind him. So I'll get reset up and we will work on the last block. Okay, so we're ready for the last block. This is the chick 2 block, which is the little guy, the little orange, the little yellow chick, I should say. So that one's going to be done the same way. So we're going to start out with getting the A file. That's what it tells us to do here. Get the A file for chick 2. So we're going to do the inside portion first. And by the way, the last two designs, these could have been done in a 4x4 hoop, these little pieces. I think they were just small enough maybe to fit in a 4x4. We'll check this one. It may have been just very close on the outline up here, so that's why I just left it in the 5x7 because I already had it out. But let's take a look here. So it is going to be chick 2. So we're going to go into get the A part, embroidery files, PES, April, and we're going to go find chick 2. So we'll just use the regular designs for this one. Here he is. Okay. And yeah, so it would have just barely fit in a 4x4. So if you want to do this one in a 4x4 hoop, you could absolutely do that. I'm just going to leave my 5x7 in that I've been using because it was already out. So we're going to do that one. So I'm going to set that one first and embroider. So we're just going to do our little chick first. So we're going to start out with the, put this over here. And I put my yellow thread in because it's going to do the chick first, the applique. So, and it's going to do like the tack down for the background fabric, but I'm just going to use the yellow. So I put my yellow in, and the first step is going to be the placement line for our background fabric or the egg fabric. And in my case, it's this white piece, and I also have a piece of Shape Flex on the back. And it does tell you to do that in the instructions. So, and I even remembered to starch my little lining fabric this time. So yeah, so like this one could be in a 4x4 if you wanted to. I thought maybe originally it was just a hair too big, but this is just small enough to go in. But this is fine to do it in a 5x7. So we're going to just kind of center this over that line. And then we're going to tack it down. So the next step is going to be tacking it down. And we're not going to trim the fabric. We're just going to leave it. And then we're going to move on to the little chick applique. I don't think I got it centered very well, but it'll be fine. And let's see. Yeah, so we're going to do this. This little chick has a piece of flexi foam in it also. So I've got my flexi foam ready. And the next step is going to be the placement line for the flexi foam. And we'll put that down next. These are going to be so cute. These are just really cute blocks. Okay, so we'll put our flexi foam down. And you could tape it if you want. I'm just going to hold mine over the center there. And then the next step number 4 is going to be the tack down for the flexi foam, and then we're going to trim our flexi foam. Yep, trim the foam close to the stitches. So that'll be the next step. So these are pretty basic applique, and it just made it have a little bit of extra depth to it by adding the little window. Isn't that cute how they did that? All right, so we're going to go ahead and trim this again. Kind of hold it up. Sometimes it's a little easier if you kind of pull up a little bit. You can get through all the layers there. Oop. Second here, I touched a button. I think I'm going to I better change my needle. I just put my needle down through the crevice of my hoop. Isn't that stupid? I touched it with my scissors. I better change my needle quick. So I'll stop the video once I get this trimmed out, in case I damage the tip of my needle. See, all that kind of stuff happens to me too. I just leave it in the videos though, because I figured that way you see that, you know, things happen and then you know what to do. So what happened is I accidentally touched my, I don't know if you saw, I touched my scissors to this button and it lowered my needle right down through the center crack of my hoop. Luckily it was the crack. Otherwise I think it would have just broken the needle off. So anyway, I will change my needle real quick before I go on to the next step. Okay, so I got the needle changed. Now I'm going to go ahead and do step number 5. And this is going to be the placement line for our little fabric that goes over our chick. And this one, they didn't tell you to put the shape flex on. If you're worried about it, you could. Mine was dark enough and it's white underneath, so it should be fine. I didn't put it on. All right, and then we're going to lay this down over the line. And again, this is going to be one that we're going to kind of want to watch so that it doesn't pucker on us. I'm just going to hold it, and it's going to, step number 6 is going to be the, whoops, except that I just unthreaded my machine again. I spend a lot of time threading my machine. I don't know why. I probably need a new thread guide set. There's a little thread guide up here, and I've noticed that it's not very tight anymore, so I have a feeling I just need a new one. All right, so I'm going to back up to the beginning of that design. Okay, so let's give her another whirl here. Kind of stays flat, hopefully. Doesn't get too pucker. There's a little pucker on the side, but I think it'll be all right. Enough on the side, I think it'll be fine. All right, so there's our little chick, and now we're going to trim the fabric close to the stitches. Now stitch the tack down, and then remove the tape, trim the fabric close to the stitches. Okay, make sure we get everything in the right order here. So then we're going to trim this. And then it's going to start working on his little legs and his beak. So let's see here. Get this trimmed. Looks like I avoided the pucker right there, so I think we're okay. Sometimes if you tape it, it's a little better, but I'm struggling with that tape right now, so I didn't want to put any more tape on it. I'll have to do that at the end. I might get another roll out before we do the last half of this, because everything was sticking to my machine. All right, so let's get that. Okay, so there's our little chick, and then the next step is 7, and it's going to be his little legs. So I'm going to go ahead and change over to my orange for his legs and his beak. So I'll probably just do the legs and the beak. That is 7 and 8. So I'm going to change over to my orange here. Okay. So it's going to do his legs first and then his beak, and then I'll come back when we're ready to do the decorative stitch around the chick. Okay, so he's got some legs and a beak, and then I'm going to put my yellow back in to do the decorative stitch around the outside edge of the chick body. So then we're going to do that, and then I think he just has some little eyes. This is the last step of this. So let's get his decorative stitch going, and then we'll come back and do his little eyes. Okay, so now we're ready for his little eyes. I put my black in, and we'll do the eyes, and then we'll be done with the center or the part A of this, and we'll go on and do the little window section. So here's his little eyes. Okay, so there's our little chick. This will go in the center, so I'm going to go ahead and take this one out of the hoop and get ready to do the outside edge, and we'll come back and we'll finish up this little block and get them all trimmed. Okay, so we're going to go back to our reverse applique block by block quilting instructions here, and the little chick is going to be the same as the bunny and the chick that we just did. So we're going to start with the loops embroidery or the quilting file, and this one was indeed the loops one, but I just did all 3 of mine. So this is where I made the mistakes. The center one was supposed to be the opposite, but it'll be just fine that it's not. So I just made all 3 of mine loops, and the top one the one of them was supposed to be the loops instead of the Easter. So I just made mine the same, but that's okay. So we're going to go do this one. And again, this one was the loops. So I'm going to go ahead and get that one. And then if you can see, the design that we need for the egg part is the plain one. So this one had little flowers on it, but the first and the third one did not. So we're going to use this BB Chick 2 part B. All right, so let's go get our little our quilting design first. So let's go get the loops. So I'm going to go back to my mini quilts, background quilting, loops 3. And it's the 4x4 one. Okay, so we'll set that one. And then we're going to add the block by block Chick 2 part B. So let's see here. Sorry, somebody must have walked past my Ring doorbell. All right, so let's go get that. Now that's going to be in that special folder again. April, and then the block by block files. So we need the one that says, this is the bunny one, this is the chick one, and this is the chick, let's see, the chick one, and yeah, this is the other chick one right here. So that one does not have any flowers on it. So this is the one we want. I'm going to set that one, and they come in centered, so we should be good. Okay, so then we're going to follow the instructions on these, the other instructions, the other 3 pages. We're going to follow the instructions like it said. So we're going to start with step number 6. So remember, we have our quilting design in there. So we're going to go ahead and hit the negative positive needle, and we're going to go down to step number 6, because we're just going to use the quilting file, which is 5. And we're going to start with 6 because we have to put our batting down. Okay, so we're going to do that first. So let's get this over here. And I've got my blue thread in my needle. Sorry, my arm is being very kind of funky today. I'm going to go ahead and I put my blue in because I'm going to use the blue for the quilting for my background here. Excuse me. Here's my little chick. So we'll have him ready to go in the center. And I'm going to do the first step, which is going to be the placement line for our batting. So that's step number 6 in the machine mill, because we've got our quilting design first. Go ahead and get this started. So once you've done this a few times, it's pretty easy. These were really cute. I just really thought this was a really cute design. All right, so then we're going to lay our batting up here. I've just got my chunk of batting. We're going to lay that up here and cover that line. And do the tack down. Now the tack down on this one then is going to have the egg cut out of the center so that we can do the little window like we've done before. Try to keep my batting flat here. There we go. So it's going to go around that twice, and then it's going to do the egg in the center. It's been so, the weather's so nice today, I think everybody's outside walking and everything. I've been inside all day, so yeah, somebody walked past. My Ring doorbell is actually quite good, and it picks people up all the way out on the street, so I always know if someone's coming my way. All right, so we're going to get our little egg in there, and then we're going to trim the batting. I'm going to turn my instructions over so in case I have a question. Okay. All right, so then we're going to trim the batting close to the stitches around the outside and around the egg on the inside. So this one's really going to be cute. I love that little chick. I so often don't do stuff for Easter, and this year I'm doing all kinds of Easter stuff, so it's been kind of fun to do some Easter projects this year. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. Easter, can vary so much in time. This year it's in March, so It's not quite as early as that. It actually could be a week earlier. It's not as early as it can be. It can be almost a whole week. It can be a week earlier, but it was pretty early this year. All right. Go around the egg. All around there. Okay. So then the next step is going to be the placement line for our background fabric. And this is step number 9 in the machine. So we're going to put this back in and do the placement line for the background fabric, which is the bigger piece that we have the shape flex on. So I'll get that ready. Or this, I'm sorry, this is step number 8, and then 9 will be the tack down line. I don't like to skip the steps because then sometimes you have to have that step in there, and if I skip them part of the time and not part of the time, I find that then I forget. So that's why I always do all of the steps. Okay, so we're going to lay this over our placement line and get it lined up as best we can. And then step number 9 will be the tack down. And then we'll be ready to go back and do the quilting. So this is step number 9 in the machine. Then we're going to back up to step number 5. And do the quilting. I'm not sure if I got that one very straight, but that's okay. It'll be fine. All right. So I'll go back over here. Go back over here, and I'm going to back up to step number 5 to do the quilting. So here's step number 5, and that's our loops. Okay. I'm going to go back over here, and we're going to do the quilting, and I'll be back when the quilting is done, and then we'll start doing the applique in the center. Okay, so we've got our quilting done, and now we need to go back according to the instructions on that addendum on page 2. It says to go to step number 10 to start the applique part, the window part. So I'm going to go back down here to the negative positive needle, and I'm going to go down to step number 10. So here's step number 10, and it's going to be the placement line for our lining in the center. So we'll do the, I'm just going to leave my blue in. Okay. Do the placement line. And I'm following now the instructions on page 22 of my instructions, the regular instruction sheet to do this. So there's my placement line for the lining. And I'm going to lay my lining over the placement line face down, like that, and get it pretty lined up. And then step number 11 in the machine is going to be the tack down line of this. I was looking to see, I don't think they put any, no, I don't think so. The last two, you know, they didn't really, they did want you to put water soluble over this section, but I didn't think it was really necessary. There was no reason to, it was just flat fabric. So this one does not call for any water soluble either. Just looking through the instructions. Okay. So there is our window. I'm going to take this out, and then we're going to, whoops, find my scissors here. We're going to trim through about 1/4 of an inch away from the stitching, and I'm going to do the top layer first. It's easier for me to do it one layer at a time and to try to get everything done at the same time. Not cutting very straight today. All right, so there's the first layer, and then we're going to go through the stabilizer and the fabric here. Get this. It's always hard to get started. Got to kind of stick the tip of your scissors in there. This one's being cantankerous. There we go. All right. So I'm going through the stabilizer and the fabric here. pretty good. Whoops. Around this side, and then we're going to trim up to the stitching line. Just be careful not to trim through. So about every 1/8 of an inch, you're going to put a little trim in there all the way around the egg. And you don't need to go closer than about 1/8 of an inch, because that way, you know, I mean, you do need to have quite a few in there. If you get too far away, then the fabric won't lay nice and flat for you, but 1/8 of an inch seems to work about right. So there's quite a few little slits in here. And you know, we did this when we were making clothes, like when we put sleeves in and when you do anything curved like this. All right, so go around. I like this fabric. I had to go get another blue because I didn't really have blue, and then that lavender I needed to go. I just, for some reason, didn't have any lavender fabric. And everything was kind of pastel-y, and I had a little darker purple, and it just didn't look quite right. It looked a little bit dark. So I went and found that one lavender. That's about the only lavender I found, too. Okay, so we got that clipped. Find our little guy here, and then what we're going to do, gotta find my mat. We're going to push this through, and this is on page 22. We're going to push this through to the back, and then I'm going to take this over to my ironing board and press it down so it's nice and flat. So I'll just kind of show you. Put it all through there. This is a very different way of doing reverse applique. I've never done it this way before. It's been kind of fun, something different. Okay, and then I'm going to take my little ironing pad, and I'm going to fold it in half like this, and I'll take this over to my ironing board, and then I'm just going to press this down nice and flat on the back, and then I'll come back and we'll tape it down and get ready to finish it off here. Okay, so we got this all pressed down. It looks all beautiful. I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to tape it down, and I even remembered to change that sticky tape out. My goodness, I don't know what was going on with that, but it was sticky on the top and the bottom. I mean, it held fine, but it also held to my machine. All right, so we're going to get this taped down on the corners. It's amazing how well those look, isn't it? Isn't it fun to get it all set up? I really like those. Okay, and then we're going to put I'm going to put some tape on my little guy here, my little chick, with the, you know, the sticky side up so that I can lay him down underneath. And then this one, they kind of have him centered with his little feet on the bottom, kind of. So let's see what it looks like. I'm going to look at the bigger picture here. Yeah, kind of has his little feet at the very bottom of the egg. So let's see if we can kind of get it lined up like that. Get my little pieces cut out here. All right, so get those on there. Get this out of my way. Then let's lay this down on top and see if we can get it the way we want it. So they kind of had his little feet kind of at the bottom, just barely covered up with the bottom of the egg. Looks pretty good. Like that. And press on there to see if we can get him to stick. Hopefully not stick to the machine now. That looks pretty good. What do you think? Pull this back so you can look. What do you think? I think it looks pretty good. Isn't that darling? So yeah, so let's make sure we got all these taped down well on the back here. All right. So then the next step, again, in the instructions says to do it in white, but I didn't do mine in white the first, so I'm doing all mine the same color, so they were all the same. So I'm just going to leave my blue in, and then it's going to do the little ring around the outside edge here, and sew everything together, and we're done. Weren't those easy? I mean, they look so scary when I first started looking at them, and it's like they've been really fun to do. Turned out just beautiful. Stitches it right down. So an interesting way to do reverse applique. This was really fun. And I like that they did them differently, so that some of them were done like windows and some of them were done, the applique was done on top. So that's cool. All right. So there's our little chick. Isn't he cute? And this one didn't have any flowers on it, so I didn't put any flowers on this one because it had more of a decorative fabric on it. And the first one I did also didn't have any flowers on it because it also didn't have, it had more of a decorative fabric. So, okay. So I will set back up and we're going to trim our 3 little blocks and then we'll be done with all of the embroidery. And the last video, video number 4, will be on the assembly of the mini quilt. So I'll be right back and we'll get our little blocks trimmed. Okay, so we're ready to do the trimming on our last little blocks here. And these are also all going to be 4.5 inches. So I've got my little 4.5 inch orange pop ruler, 4.5 by 4.5. And I'm going to line up my tack down line there with that. And it's pretty close to being 4.5 exactly, but it's just a little off. It always pulls in just a little. So it's not bad though. So I'm going to line it up with my lines so that it's nice and straight. And again, I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm going to start in just a little, pull back to the corner and push forward. Turn my Martelli mat, pull back and push forward. I think I'm going to order myself a new mat. I've got it kind of a little, can you see my little spot here? My mat's kind of worn out. I use this a lot. So I got a little chunk out of my mat, so sometimes it doesn't like to cut when I have to do longer pieces. So I think I'll order myself a new mat. Okay. There's the first one. Whoops, I didn't quite get through that little back part. That had some shape flex on it, so there we go. All right, so there's our first one. That looks great. And here's the little bunny that I did first. Let's get these out of the way. So here's our little bunny, and get him all lined up again without that little tack down line. Really helps you get these lined up. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go over here, start in a little ways, pull back to the corner and go forward. And this is also a Martelli rotary cutter if you didn't recognize it. These are ergonomic, and man, I've really noticed a difference. I don't have so much hand and wrist problems as I did when I was using a regular rotary cutter. These are so nice because your hand lays more flat. All right, so there's our little bunny. Isn't he cute? So there's the little bunny. And then we'll do our little chick here. And we'll have all of these done. Let's get this all lined up. Looks pretty good. I really like that blue. I have to pull it this way a little bit so you can see. Okay, there we go. Okay, turn it. I missed a spot right there. Okay, I think I'm on top. No, I'm not on my little chunk that's out. Sometimes I hit that and man, nothing cuts when I hit that little chunk. So I think I'll order myself a new mat tonight. So I've been going to do it and I keep forgetting. There we go. All right, let's see how we did. Well, that looks pretty good. All right. So there is the little chick. So we got all 6 of our little blocks done. These are all 4.5 by 4.5. Let me get these out of here before they're all on the floor. Here's the, so actually these are supposed to be like, these 3 are supposed to be the top row. So these 3 are in the top row, and these are the ones we did in this video. And then the other 3 are supposed to be in the bottom row. So like I said, I apologize that I misread and got the wrong design in, but you know what? They look just fine with the same design in each one, and that is fine. And or we could alternate, like one of these, we could, you know, alternate one of the Easter ones up with the loops and one of the loops down with the Easter ones. We could do that too, but I'll probably just put them in the way they say, because I think they look beautiful. And I didn't put the white thread around the outside edge, and that would be absolutely fine. I just happened to start them with the same color, and that's the way I kept going, and they look just fine that way. All right, so thank you so much for joining me for the third video of the April mini quilt from Kimberbell, and we will continue on with video number 4 and do the assembly for our mini quilt. So thanks so much. I also wanted to say, if you have not subscribed to my channel on YouTube, please do. It's free. You don't have to pay anything to subscribe. And that way you'll get all the notifications when I start doing more videos and stuff. And then also, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up at the end. So I'd appreciate that also. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you in video 4 for the assembly of our mini quilt. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.